How to ask questions that make women desire and even fall in love with you instantly. How many times have you been sitting there trying to talk to a woman you're attracted to, and you feel that slow, agonizing burn of the conversation dying? You ask her about her job. You ask her what she likes to do for fun. You ask where she's from. The whole time, you're just spewing out these boring, robotic questions, hoping one of them will magically spark something. But they don't. She gives you one-word answers, checks her phone, and eventually, the conversation just evaporates. All this time, you've been asking questions to get information, thinking that's how you connect with someone. You're asking like a detective, not a man who wants to ignite a fire. You're trying to solve a puzzle instead of creating a story. You're giving away your power by putting the burden of the conversation on her, and she can feel that desperation. It's unattractive, it's draining, and it's why you're walking away with a list of facts about her life instead of a feeling that she wants to see you again. All of your questions are serving you, trying to get you to a place of comfort, but they do nothing to make her feel seen, heard, and desired. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to ask questions that bypass her logical mind and speak directly to her emotions, making her undeniably desire you and feel like she's already halfway in love before she's even said your name twice. The first brutal truth. Most men ask questions like interviewers, not like lovers. You think the point of a question is to collect information, but the real point, the hidden point, is to make her feel something when she answers. Imagine two scenarios. In the first, you ask her, "What do you do for work?" She replies, "I'm in marketing," and you nod, already scrambling to think of your next line. In the second scenario, you tilt your head, drop your voice just a little, and say, "What part of your life right now makes you forget the rest of the world exists?" Suddenly, she's not just answering, she's reliving the memory as she tells it. And because it's you who asked, she ties that emotion to you. That's the difference between being a man she forgets and being the man she can't stop replaying in her head when she lies in bed that night. The mistake you've been making is assuming she'll hand you attraction if you act polite enough. But attraction isn't a reward for good behavior. Attraction is tension, it's heat. It's her realizing, this man sees the parts of me no one else bothers to touch. So when you ask her shallow questions, you make yourself forgettable. But when you ask her questions that demand she reveal her inner world, you make yourself unforgettable. And that terrifies her in the best way possible. Because the moment a woman feels like you see her soul, her body wants to follow. Think about the last time you felt electricity with someone. It wasn't because they asked you for your job title. It was because they cut through the bullshit. Maybe they asked about the scar on your hand. Maybe they asked, when was the last time you really lost yourself in something? That question lingers. It drags you deeper. And that's what you need to do. Drag her deeper, not wider. One question that slices down to her core beats 10 questions that skim across the surface. Here's the exercise. The next time you're tempted to ask her something safe, stop yourself. Instead, take the safe question and twist it. Don't ask her where she's from. Ask her where she feels most alive. Don't ask her what she does. Ask her what she would do if no one judged her. Don't ask her if she likes traveling. Ask her where she goes when she needs to remember who she is. Watch how her posture changes. Watch how her pupils dilate. Because women are starving for men who make them feel. There's another layer most men miss. The way you deliver the question matters just as much as the question itself. If you fire it off like a cop taking notes, you'll kill it. But if you slow down, if you let silence hang just a little too long after asking, you create a frame where her answer feels like a secret she's gifting you. That's where intimacy is born, in the pauses, not in the noise. And the more comfortable you are with silence, the more uncomfortable she'll feel with holding herself back. Picture this. You're sitting across from her, candlelight brushing her cheekbones, her fingers toying with the rim of her glass. You lean in, not too much, just enough that she feels you closing the world around her. And you ask, "What's the one thing you're afraid to admit you want?" She laughs, a deflection, and maybe rolls her eyes, but you don't flinch. You just hold her gaze, calm, grounded, unshaken. And eventually she exhales. "Okay, fine." And then she tells you something she's never told another man. In that moment, you own her, not because you demanded it, but because you unlocked it. And that's what women crave, the man who unlocks them. But here's the catch. The dangerous edge you need to understand. If you ask these questions from a needy place, she'll feel it. If you ask hoping to impress her, she'll sense it. The power of these questions isn't in the words, it's in the energy underneath them. You have to mean it. You actually want to know, not just pretend, because a woman's intuition is razor sharp. If she smells manipulation, you're done. But if she feels your curiosity is real, if she feels your presence wrapping around her while she answers, she'll surrender.
And this is where most men never dare to go. They think surrender is about her body, about the moment she finally leans in and kisses them. But surrender starts in conversation. It starts with her realizing, "I don't know why, but I want to tell him everything." That's not small talk. That's not casual. That's the spark of obsession. So here's your challenge tonight. Stop asking questions you could Google the answer to. Ask the questions that rip her open. Ask the questions that make her laugh nervously before she answers. Ask the questions that make her wonder what else you'll see if she lets you in. And when she finally tells you, don't just nod. Make her feel like you've been waiting your whole life to hear that truth. That's how questions stop being words and start being weapons of desire. There's a reason most men never dare to cross this line. Because the moment you ask her something real, you put yourself on the edge too. You risk silence. You risk rejection. You risk her looking at you and saying, "That's too much." And men hate that edge. They would rather stay safe, asking about pets and weather, than expose themselves to the possibility of raw human connection. But that edge is exactly where attraction lives. That's where she tests you, without even knowing she's testing. She's asking herself, does this man have the strength to handle me? Or will he fold like the rest? And the only way she'll ever know is if you stop holding yourself back. Think of it like this. Every woman is carrying a locked chest. Inside are her deepest memories, her forbidden fantasies, her insecurities, and her dreams so wild she's ashamed of them. Most men walk right past that chest, never even noticing it's there. Some men knock on it politely, hoping she'll hand over the key. But the rare man, the unforgettable man, doesn't beg. He looks her in the eyes and, with his calm, grounded presence, makes her want to unlock it herself. That's the paradox. You don't force her to open, you make her crave opening. And your questions are the hand that brushes the dust off the lid. Here's the mistake you've been trained to make by a lifetime of bullshit dating advice. You think your job is to impress her, to prove you're worthy. That's why your questions come out weak and hollow. But the truth is, you don't win a woman by proving you're worth her time. You win her by making her prove she's worth yours. When you ask her something bold, something that demands depth, you flip the script. You're no longer the boy seeking validation, you're the man offering a chance to be seen. And every woman, whether she admits it or not, is desperate for that chance. Imagine a scene. You're walking with her late at night, the city lights spilling across wet pavement. She tells you a story about her friends, about something funny that happened at work. You smile, you listen, but then you cut in with a curveball. You say, "Okay, that's fun, but let me ask you something real. When's the last time you felt completely free?" She stops mid-step. She blinks. You can almost see the walls shaking. Most guys would have let the moment pass, nodding politely at her small talk. But you didn't. You pulled her down into herself, into the place she hides from the world. That's where the magic begins. And here's the psychology behind it. Emotions are contagious. When you make her access a powerful emotion to answer your question, she associates that emotion with you. You're no longer just the man standing in front of her, you're the trigger of that rush inside her chest. That's why the questions you ask are infinitely more powerful than the compliments you give. Compliments fade, emotions linger. A compliment is sugar, it tastes good for a second and disappears. A deep question is fire. It burns into her memory, and the heat stays long after you've gone. But don't make the mistake of thinking this is about being dark and serious all the time. Sometimes the most seductive question is playful, but it's playful with an edge. Not "do you like dogs?" but "if you could live one day completely without consequences, what kind of trouble would you get into?" She laughs, she teases, and she tests you back with something mischievous. But underneath that laugh is a spark. You gave her permission to reveal the side of herself she normally hides. That's the art. Light and dark, curiosity and danger, woven together in the words you choose. Let me give you the gut punch truth most men can't handle. She doesn't want another guy who asks the same question she's heard 1,000 times. She wants the man who makes her wonder, what is he going to ask me next? That anticipation is desire. That curiosity is attraction. And when she starts looking forward to your next question more than she looks forward to the next drink in her hand, you've already won. But here's where the trap lies. You can't just memorize a list of deep questions and fire them off like a script. If you do, you'll sound like a cheap magazine quiz. The power isn't in the question itself, it's in how present you are when you ask it. If you ask and then zone out while she answers, you kill it. If you ask and then try to twist her answer into a pickup line, you kill it. The whole point is that you're there with her, completely, like nothing else in the world matters. That's what makes her feel safe enough to open. That's what makes her feel chosen.
And once she feels chosen, once she feels like she's giving you pieces of herself that no one else gets, desire isn't even a choice anymore. It's biology. Humans bond through shared vulnerability. And the man who leads that vulnerability, without flinching, without apologizing, becomes the man she bonds with most deeply. That's why a single well-placed question can outweigh months of casual dates. That's why the right words, asked at the right moment, can turn curiosity into craving. So stop thinking of questions as polite exchanges of data. Stop thinking of them as checklists. Start thinking of them as keys, as triggers, as fire. Because every time you speak, you're either pushing her closer to boredom or pulling her closer to surrender. And if you can master the art of asking the kind of questions that pull, you won't just have her attention, you'll have her hunger. There's a myth floating around that women fall for men because of looks, status, or money. And yes, those things grab attention. They tilt the odds and they make you visible. But they don't create obsession. Obsession comes from something much darker, much more primal. The feeling that you can reach into her and pull out the parts of herself she didn't even know were still alive. That doesn't come from your bank account or your car, it comes from the way you ask, from the way you listen, and from the way your questions make her feel like you've lit a match inside her chest. The failure of the myth is obvious when you look around. How many men have the money, the looks, and the career and still get cheated on, still get left, and still get replaced by some tattooed bartender who asked her, "When did you stop dreaming?" That guy didn't have the perfect resume, but he had the nerve to touch her soul. That's the raw truth most men don't want to hear. You can't buy your way into her heart. You have to earn it with presence,
with courage, and with the kind of questions that make her skin prickle. So here's what you do. You stop treating questions like tools for small talk and start treating them like invitations into danger. Because every deep question is dangerous. It risks rejection, it risks discomfort, and it risks her thinking, this man is too much. But that risk is the exact reason it works. Because when you lean into the risk, when you're unafraid of her reaction, she feels it. Your fearlessness, your groundedness. And she relaxes. She thinks, maybe he can handle me. And once she feels you can handle her, she starts handing you more. Picture this scene. She's sitting in your passenger seat, music low, her hair catching the streetlight as you drive. She's talking about her weekend plans, her family, and some ordinary detail. You let her finish, and then, without looking at her, you say, tell me something you wish someone had asked you years ago. Silence. The air changes. She shifts in her seat. She says, what do you mean? You keep your eyes on the road, calm and steady, and repeat, something you wish someone cared enough to ask. Now she's in her head, digging. You've created tension without touching her, without leaning in. That's seduction. Psychological, invisible, undeniable. The common mistake is thinking you need to pile on words, keep the conversation flowing, and never let it stall. But silence is your ally. Silence is where she feels the weight of what you just asked. If you rush in to fill it, you kill the spark. But if you hold it, if you let her sit there with her pulse racing, deciding whether she trusts you enough to answer, you've already separated yourself from every other man she's known. Because most men fear silence, but the man who can master silence, he becomes unforgettable. Now here's the kicker. Not all your questions have to be serious. Sometimes the sexiest question is the one that teases out her wildness. Not, what's your favorite drink, but, if we disappeared right now, where would you want me to take you? Not, do you like dancing, but, if the world ended tonight, what song would you want to dance to first? Playful, but laced with danger. That's the balance you're after. Questions that flirt with fantasy while pulling her into intimacy. And let's talk about her defenses, because they will come. When you ask something deep, her first instinct may be to deflect, to laugh it off, or to dodge. Most men retreat at that point. They take her laugh as a rejection and backpedal into safety. But the man who wins doesn't flinch. He stays steady, maybe smiles, maybe tilts his head, and simply waits. Because here's the brutal truth. Women test without knowing they're testing. She's not dodging because she doesn't want to answer. She's dodging to see if you'll collapse. If you do, she files you under weak. If you don't, she opens. That's why your internal frame matters more than the words themselves. If you ask from a place of desperation, if you need her answer to validate you, she'll sense it. But if you ask from a place of calm curiosity, like you already know you're enough, she'll feel that too. And that feeling, the feeling of your groundedness, will make her trust you. Trust is what turns a question from awkward to irresistible. Trust is what makes her whisper things she swore she'd never tell.
Here's the challenge. Next time you're with a woman, pick one question that scares you to ask. Not because it's rude, not because it's crude, but because it requires courage. Maybe it's, what's the one thing you're still running from? Or maybe it's, what do you want that you're afraid to say out loud? Ask it. Then shut up. Let her wrestle with it. Let her reveal. Because the moment she answers, you'll feel the shift. Suddenly, she's not just talking to a guy. She's confessing to a man who has seen her. And once she confesses, once she's given you that piece of herself, desire follows like a shadow. She won't be able to help it, because you're no longer some stranger she met. You're the man tied to the memory of that vulnerable moment. That's what hooks her. That's what makes her replay your words in her mind long after you've left. And that's what makes her wonder what it would feel like to give you more. So smash the myth. Stop believing you need to dazzle her with facts about yourself, and stop believing you need to earn her with gifts or tricks. Start believing in the raw truth. Women fall in love through the questions that cut deeper than anyone else dared to cut. Be the man who dares. Be the man who risks. Because the men who risk nothing end up with nothing.
And the man who risks asking, "Who are you?" when no one's watching, ends up with everything. Step 1. Shift your mindset. You've been trained to think of questions as tools to collect answers. Wrong. A question isn't about the answer, it's about the feeling it creates when she gives it to you. That means the words don't leave in her mouth, they leave in her body. When you ask her something bold, she doesn't just think, she feels. Her pulse quickens, her skin warms, and her breath changes. That's the effect you're after. You're not interrogating, you're not interviewing, you're pulling her deeper into herself, and because you're the one leading her there, she ties the intensity to you. Step 2. Reframe your intent. Most men ask to impress. They think, if I ask this right, she'll like me. That's backwards. You don't ask to get her approval, you ask to test her ability to meet you. Your questions should say, without words, I'm already whole, I'm already enough, but if you want me, show me who you really are. That shift changes everything. Suddenly she's not sitting back judging you, she's leaning forward, nervous, wondering if she measures up. That's when desire takes root, when she feels chosen, not when you feel desperate. Step 3. Make it personal. If you throw out random deep questions with no connection, she'll feel the gimmick. But if you anchor your questions in the moment, they land. You're on a rooftop together, city lights below, wind brushing against her dress. You say, "Standing here like this, what part of your life feels too small for you now?" She exhales, her guard drops, because you tied the question to the scene, to the energy in the air. That's when the conversation stops being words and starts being a story she'll replay later when she's lying in bed. Step 4. Hold the silence. This one will feel like death at first because silence makes most men panic. But silence is the echo chamber that makes your question thunder in her mind. You ask, "What's something you've never told anyone?" And then you wait. Not impatiently, not fidgeting, calm, grounded. She looks at you, her lips part, then close again. The silence grows heavy, but you don't break. And eventually she does. That's the crack in the armor. That's where surrender starts. Step 5. Reward the reveal. When she gives you something real, you don't joke it away, you don't treat it lightly, and you don't move on like it was nothing. You lock eyes. You let her feel the gravity of what she just said. Maybe you lean closer, your voice low, and say, "That's fucking beautiful." Not because you're performing, but because you actually felt it. Women are experts at sniffing out empty flattery. But when you mean it, when your body betrays that you mean it, she feels safe giving you even more. That's when obsession grows, when she realizes you don't just ask, you receive. Step 6. Push the boundary. Every deep question opens a door, and most men stop at the threshold. You can't. You need to walk her through. She says she's afraid of failing. You don't just nod. You ask, "Failing at what?" She says, "At not living up to expectations." You tilt your head and whisper, "Whose expectations?" And suddenly, she's unraveling a story about her father, her fears, and her hidden longing to be free. You didn't stop at the surface. You pushed. And now she's giving you the rawest parts of herself, parts no one else has ever touched. That's where love sneaks in, through the cracks you dared to pry open. Step 7. Weave desire into vulnerability. This is the part where most men fumble because they either stay too safe or they go too sexual too fast. The art is in the blend. You ask her about her dreams, her fears, and her hidden sides, and then you slip in the question that blurs the line. What kind of trouble do you secretly wish a man would drag you into? Now her confession isn't just emotional, it's erotic. You've merged intimacy with danger. That's the cocktail that makes her body betray her mind. That's what makes her glance at your lips while she answers and makes her lean closer without realizing it.
And here's the brutal honesty you need to swallow. This only works if you live it. If you ask her these questions but never face them yourself, you'll come off hollow. If you want her to give you her truth, you need to be a man who owns his own. That means you need to know what scares you. You need to know what you secretly crave. You need to be able to say it out loud without shame. Because women don't just respond to your words, they respond to your energy. And if your energy says, "I'm hiding," she'll hide too. But if your energy says, "I've faced my shadows and I'm unafraid of yours," she'll follow you into the dark. So let this sink in. The questions that make her fall for you are not just about her, they're about you. They're about the man you've become, the man who doesn't flinch, the man who can hold fire without getting burned. If you're that man, then your questions aren't tricks, they're invitations. And once she accepts, once she steps through, there's no going back. She won't just want you, she'll need you. There's a moment that happens when you get this right. You'll see it in her eyes before you feel it anywhere else. She's answering you. She's giving you pieces of herself. And then suddenly, she pauses. Her breath catches. She looks at you like she's realizing something she shouldn't. That's the moment. That's when she knows she's already invested, already hooked, already imagining what it would feel like if you touched her the way your questions touched her soul. You don't chase that moment. It arrives naturally when you stop hiding, when you start leading. Most men never get to that moment because they don't understand what their questions are doing. They think they're just filling silence, buying time until they can make a move. But the truth is, every question is a move. Every question either pulls her closer or pushes her away. If you waste it on fluff, you push her toward boredom. If you wield it with courage, you pull her into desire. It's that simple and that brutal. You want to know why women say we just clicked? It's because of this. It's not luck. It's not magic. It's that one of them knew how to reach the other's hidden layers fast. That's what clicking means. And when you're the man who makes her feel like she's clicking with you, you bypass all the games. She doesn't think of you as just another guy. She thinks of you as the man who gets her, the man she can't ignore, the man her body leans toward without her permission. That's not chance. That's mastery. But here's the danger zone. If you start using questions like tricks, you'll destroy everything. If you see them as formulas to get laid, she'll smell it instantly. You can't fake presence. You can't fake curiosity. You can't fake the stillness in your body when she's baring her soul to you. This isn't a performance. This is you being a man who actually wants to know, who actually listens, and who actually feels what she's saying. That's what makes it work. That's what separates you from every other clown running pickup lines. And make no mistake, this is power. But power has rules. Use it without care and you'll break her. Use it with integrity and you'll build her. You have to choose what kind of man you're going to be. The man who opens women just to consume them, or the man who opens women and leaves them better than he found them. Women can feel that difference in your energy. And whichever one you are, you'll attract exactly what you deserve. So let me give you the rawest truth of all. You don't ask questions to make her fall for you. You ask questions to show her you're already a man worth falling for. That's the secret. That's the nice edge. The questions aren't the point. You are. A weak man asking the right question is still weak. A strong man asking a simple question still feels powerful. It's not the script. It's the soul behind the script. This is why I told you from the start. Stop thinking about what she'll give you. Start thinking about what you can draw out of her. When you stop needing and start leading, everything changes. She stops being polite. She starts leaning in. She stops giving safe answers. She starts giving dangerous ones. She stops seeing you as an option. She starts seeing you as the man she can't shake out of her head. Imagine this. Weeks after you met her, she's lying awake in bed, scrolling her phone, distracted, bored. And then your face flashes in her mind. Not because of your smile, not because of your job, not because of your looks, but because of one question you asked that night, the one that dug into her like a hook. She hears herself answering you again in her head. She feels the rush again. And suddenly, she misses you. That's desire. That's love in its earliest form, not fireworks, but echoes. And you'll never get that if you keep hiding behind safe, shallow words. You'll never get that if you're afraid of silence, if you're afraid of rejection, if you're afraid of seeing the real woman behind the mask. The truth is brutal. The depth of your questions is the depth of your connection. Shallow questions, shallow bond. Deep questions, deep bond. That's it. That's the math. So here's my final challenge to you. The next time you're with a woman, strip away the safety net. Don't ask her what she does. Don't ask her where she's from. Don't ask her if she likes movies. Ask her what keeps her up at night. Ask her what she's secretly chasing. Ask her what part of herself she's dying to let out but never does. And when she answers, don't flinch, don't joke, don't rush. Receive it like a man. Let her feel that you can handle her truth. Because once she feels that, you'll stop being just another guy she met. You'll become the man she can't shake out of her head. And when she finally falls, when she finally desires you with the same intensity you've been craving, it won't be because of a trick, a tactic, or a clever line. It'll be because you had the balls to ask the questions no one else dared, and the presence to stay while she revealed the answers. That's how you win her heart. That's how you make her fall. And that's how you become the man who never has to beg for love again. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who also cares about this. See you in the next videos.